everyone. It's Fame 2 Lesson 6, last lesson recording. So far, where have you been? Where have you been finish your lesson 4, lesson 5? Hopefully you can finish finish lesson 6, the last one, by middle of May.
Middle of May. End of May if necessary. But we don't have a lot of time in June.
Yeah, we have like parties or teachers trying to rush everything. Okay, anyway, so we're going to start painter right now, an artist. Do you look at my outfit today? Do you notice anything interesting about my outfit today?
And this is how you're supposed to dress too. You're trying to be unbalanced. So one side of you is supposed to look heavier than the other side, as in you have your one leg pant rolled up, that side sleeve rolled up, hair to the side. If you have a big dangly earring, just wear one earring that day. But yeah, so is there anything you notice? And hopefully the kids will say, you're not even. You need to put your sleeve down and your leg pant down and all that. Okay.
What should I do to look more balanced? Should I put down my...
Yeah, put down your leg pants, your pants.
And my...
sleeve, or put one sleeve up, because I know you like them up.
Yeah, or maybe all
Yeah.
up. Balance.
And take your hair out.
Take out my hair too.
Yeah.
So I'm balanced right now. Okay, thank you so much. I feel much more balanced right now. Did you know that there are a couple of kinds of balance? One is weight balance, like you need to stack things or walk on the balance beam. And the other is visual or artistic balance. What does that mean? Where things look balanced to your eye, which way was the clothing imbalanced? When I wear something imbalanced, it's so visually, right? Makes your eyes feel I was not normal, I was uneven. Can you think of some other things, maybe in this room, they're not balanced? Or maybe about balance, visual balance?
Yeah, the paintings above you.
Paintings?
We used to have more paintings.
Yep. And how about the arrangement of the furnitures?
Yeah, the furniture is not balanced. So yeah, you can have the kids look at the desks in their classrooms. Some teachers actually do have it quite balanced, and some teachers do not. So it's something to pay attention to. It's like, where's the position of their desks? Where's the position of the bookshelves? Do they have lots of stuff on one whiteboard and the other whiteboard has nothing on it? Things like that. And we also have visuals. So there's the one with the butterfly on it.
Butterfly, this one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at this one, thinking butterfly. Are they balanced?
Is it balanced? We also, for the older grades, you can also use this for symmetry. We keep that talk mostly for the upper grades about symmetry. If you have time and you think it's a concept your kids will understand, you can do it for the lower grades. I know when I did this, I did it for the lower grades and the upper grades, but you can show them how the butterfly is balanced. It's equal on both sides. This is for younger grades. And how the room arrangement down on the bottom, the furniture is balanced. There's equal stuff on both sides. And the same with the Taj Mahal. This is all balanced. Now, for the upper grades, you would say this is all symmetric.
So you can ask them what does symmetric means. Symmetric means both sides of something are identical but in reverse, just like the butterfly. Can you think of some other things that are symmetrical? Look at my shoes.
Yeah.
Does something need to be symmetrical to be balanced?
No.
No. Here's a tricky one. Is the face balanced or symmetrical? I have
How do you see Obama one?
people symmetrical?
Are people symmetrical? So this is the original.
And how about here? Are people symmetrical?
It doesn't look right, does it? And then you can compare it to the actual picture and the kids can see, do they all three look the same, or are they all three slightly different? So yeah, we're not symmetrical. We're kind of symmetrical. If you bring up the other. No, yeah, yeah. If you look at it, we're kind of symmetrical, but not perfectly symmetrical. Because if we were, Obama would look like either the left or the right. That picture there. Okay.
When I look, so go home and ask the kids to look at the mirror. Like me, I can tell my ear one is higher than the other side. Or some people, their eyebrow, their eyes are in the up and down. They are not really exactly the same. All right. So a few artists create visual art that is symmetrical, but all artists are concerned with balance. In a little bit, I'm going to ask you if our work of art for today seems balanced to you and why. But first, we are going to do a bit of review of some of the paintings maybe you learned before, kids learned before. Do you remember first? Do you remember the elements of composition? What are they? So just ask them, do they still remember all this? Like
Line, color, light and shadow, texture. Our infamous poster.
This is, they should know, for upper graders, they should know without looking.
Even the third graders should know.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so when asked, do they remember this painting not too long ago? Maybe last time they saw before?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of this painting? It's called Chambered Nautilus. It is painted in a very realistic style, which means that it looks a lot like real life. Is it balanced?
Yes.
It is certainly not symmetrical, but the color, light and shadow and line help it look balanced. You think the light may be more on the white, even though there's a window in here, but the drapery and the clothes is lighter. There's a pole here, and there's another pole right here. And something on the showers here, and then this back is trying to be balanced. And that's another one. I hope the kids and you can remember this.
You can use the stand.
Simba by
Sinbad.
This style of art is called abstract. Do you remember what it means when the work of art is abstract? Abstract means it's not realistic, but you can still tell what it is. What elements help this work to look balanced?
The light and shadow and the color.
Yeah, the line, especially the line
Yep.
and color.
It all kind of works together to help it be balanced.
Are you ready for our painting for today? It's called Blue Atmosphere, the Blue Atmosphere.
Is that the right direction? I never remember.
It is neither abstract nor realistic. It is a style of painting called abstract expressionism, and it might look very strange to you. What do you think of this? Do you like it or not?
I like
Is it
it.
balanced?
Yeah.
What elements of composition does this work have?
There's lots of color.
Colors, maybe a little bit of shadow, but not much line. Do you see any line? I don't see any line.
Not really.
If I were to see the original of this painting instead of a print, it would have some texture from the canvas. So our two painters is this lady called Helen Frankenfried.
Helen Frankenthaler.
Thinking,
Frankenthaler. Helen Frankenthaler.
and we should put down. She passed away already on.
She passed away in 2011. So she's actually a very contemporary artist for us for fame because she did work up until, I think, up until she passed away, or at least close to then.
And also we have her face here too. I will show them later.
Yeah.
Let me put that first. Helen, how to say it?
Helen Frankenthaler.
Is an American women artist. She pioneered a technique called color field painting, which features a large area of a single color.
Yeah, why don't you stand next to the painting and talk about it, so.
Should I put it up?
Yeah. Because you want the kids to see the painting while you're talking. Okay.
She invented silk stain painting, where she would lay a large canvas on the floor, like this picture, and then dilute paint with, is it turpentine?
Turpentine.
Turpentine is kind of an oil, right?
It's an oil. So if she was using oil paint, she would use turpentine. If she was using a water-based paint, she would use water. But most artists were using oil paint, so it would be turpentine.
Turpentine until it was very thin and liquid, and then would pour or splash the paint onto the canvas. This is another
Yeah.
phase.
And so if you are doing the biography, so if you have older kids and you're doing the biography, these pictures come into the biography and are specifically numbered on the back, so you know when to show them.
The paint would soak it into the canvas instead of being paint on top. She could move the paint around to make it stain various areas, but not remove the paint like a traditional oil top. She would move the paint around to make it stain various areas, but not remove the paint like the traditional oil artist can. When she did not like the result, she would throw them away or tear off part and then begin again. Does this painting look finished to you? Why do you think she left so much of it blank and white here? Why might it called blue atmosphere? Helen has said that she paints landscape, but landscapes of the imagination rather than landscape of reality. So I think she wants to leave this part for us to imagine what's going on.
It also balances all the color on top, having a nice empty area.
Okay, let's go to her biography.
So again, if you have younger kids, so that's first grade, second grade, you can skip most of the biography or skip it all, depending on if you think there's any facts that they need to know. If you have older kids, that's when we would like you to try to make sure you get the biography in, but you don't. Again, you can pick and choose your facts that you're going to share, depending on your timing and the age of your class.
So should we read a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Helen
Frankenthaler
is considered the greatest living woman artist. She is also a very private person, and so we don't have a lot of details about her life. We know more about her painting than we do her life. She was born in New York in 1928, the youngest daughter of Supreme Court Justice. Her family had enough money to send her to the finest schools. She had an interest in art from a very early age and spent her school breaks traveling in America and Europe to visit art galleries and meet artists. She lived near the famous
Guggenheim
Museum in New York. I've never been there. Have you been there?
I have not. I've only been to New York on a flyby.
Helen graduated from Dalton School in New York and from Bennington College in Vermont, where she studied art. She was already beginning to exhibit her art when she was only 20 years old. She had her first one-woman show at the age of 23. That same year, she met Jackson Pollock for the first time. Do you remember?
Yeah. So if you have third grade and up, they will remember Jackson Pollock, and just ask the kids, do you remember Jackson Pollock?
And we did.
And if they don't, they go, oh, I don't remember that name, and just say, do you remember throwing paint all over the place? And hopefully then they'll remember.
It was 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
remember his painting from fame? Yeah, he was also an abstract expressionist painter who placed his canvas on the floor. So do you see the similarity between Helen and Jackson? Helen was married to a fellow painter, Robert Motherwell, for about 13 years. Besides her paintings, she has designed sets and costumes for the ballet, done sculptures, prints, and ceramics, and has taught art at some famous universities like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and NYU too. He has homes in Massachusetts and Connecticut. Do you know what is a nonconformist is?
Nonconformist.
Nonconformist. Nonconformist means somebody who does things their own way instead of the way most people do things. As a woman artist, Helen is famous for being a
Conformist.
In her art and in her life. She didn't want to paint the way other people paint or live the way many women want to live. So when you look at her painting, you can tell. It's not that many other.
It's not, yeah, it's not an everyday run-of-the-mill painting.
She has always done things her own way and has ended up being the most famous woman artist of our life. She was awarded the National Medal of Arts, and she died on December 27, 2011, at the age of 83 in Connecticut after a long, undisclosed illness.
And actually, we have a picture of her. I think she was 83. And I'll come closer.
She didn't look like 83.
I think that they said she was 83. I just looked up the news story because I was trying to find out how to pronounce her last name. And they had that picture with her obituary, which said she was 83. I don't know. I'm going by that. All right, and so we do have an art activity, but of course you will do that after you do your composers. So we're going to pause. All right, guys, this is my last fame presentation. Yay!
Since when? How many years ago?
I've been doing fame in this role for about 9 years, I think. 8 or 9 years. So this is my last fame presentation unless someone calls me and says, help! Which I'm hoping they won't. Not because I don't like them, but because I hope they have the tools they need to take care of it. Anyway, so stating that this is my last fame presentation, that means we do need help next year for fame. We have Callie who will be here, and we'll have Sylvia, but do realize that next year is Callie's last year. So we would love to have 1 or 2 more parents step up and help us run fame. You know, we can run it as a committee or a group. It's much easier that way. When I started running fame, we had 5 adults doing it. It was much easier on us. No one felt like they had to do everything all by themselves. So if we have a couple of parents who are very interested in seeing this program continue, we would love to have you come talk to Callie or me, and we'll plug you in for next year. Next year should be fun. Just so you guys know, you guys get to do Carmen next year. That's my favorite lesson. All the kids have costumes, and they get to come up and they get to do a mini version of Carmen the opera. It'll be lots of fun. It's the best lesson of all. I say that about Jackson Pollock too. But no, I mean it. I like the Carmen lesson. All right, so I am going to be doing our composer today, and I have 2 lessons that I'm mashing together, so please forgive me if I stutter or pause. It means I'm trying to add something from another lesson. All right, so, and you will do this preferably after the artist. Once we finish this, then we will move on and we will do the art activity. All right. So we just saw how our artist today achieved balance in her artwork. Now we are going to talk about a composer named Maurice Ravel and see how he used the elements of music our lovely poster that we don't show very often. The elements of music, and I'm going to put it away now. How you use those. Stay, don't fall. To create balance in his music. The music I will be playing today is called Bolero. So we are going to actually try to get a DVD set up for you. In the lesson, there's a YouTube address. We're going to try to get that on a DVD for you, because some classes you can easily get to a computer and show a YouTube video, and some classes you can't. So otherwise, just play the music. If you want to try to combine the DVD with your talk instead of the CD, you can try it. I was going to try it, but I don't have access here in the library to YouTube. And again, if you are going to do it that way and we don't have a DVD for you, you will have to check with the teacher to see if she has a way of playing YouTube video for you in her classrooms. Like I said, upper grades, about 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they have access to YouTube and they can do that for you. Younger grades, maybe not. So you would have to check with the teacher on their usage there. And here's a picture of Maurice, so I don't forget to show you, because I always forget to show. Okay. All right, so if you do not have the DVD, or you're going to do it, the DVD separately, play the music. I can figure out where the play button is. There we are. So this music is very soft, and you can clearly hear only 2 instruments playing. Which 2 instruments are playing?
Flute.
Flute and a drum. Right? Hopefully they will tell you that. And I will get big pictures out of a flute and a drum for you, just for the heck. Which instrument is the loudest and higher sounding instrument?
Flute. Flute.
It's the flute. Hopefully they tell you that. Which instrument is softer but has a bigger and lower sound?
The drum.
Drum. Which of these instruments is playing the melody, the part we can hum?
The flute part.
That would be the flute. And which is keeping the rhythm, basically a pattern of repeated notes or sounds?
Drum.
Drum. That's as far as that lesson goes. So I have to go to the other lesson, as I told you. I'll have it all in one for you. Don't worry. All right. So Ravel, he's balancing the melody and the rhythm. And if you want to use, no, I don't want to use those. It's too complicated. He's balancing our melody and our rhythm here in this song. So he's doing just as our artist had done by gradually adding to his composition, because he's now added another instrument. He is slowly achieving this balance. So now he's kind of building his music. He's added another instrument. I think that is I want to
Bassoon.
say it's a clarinet, but I could be wrong. You're not going to tell me. This is a long piece, just so you guys know, and you have to listen to the whole thing. But he's going to slowly add more instruments to create a harmony. So now he has a harmony. This is that piece right there. It's different from what the flute was playing. So this is our harmony. So he's added this harmony. That's on here. Now, to keep our music balanced, we have to add another dynamic, don't we? What's the dynamic? Or we have to add another element. Told you the dynamic, didn't I? So what element is it? Which one have we added? It's the dynamics, which I unfortunately led you to. So, what is dynamics? Does anyone remember? It's how loudly or how softly we're playing the music. Are we at the same volume that we were at when we first started the music?
A little bit louder.
It's a little bit louder, isn't it? Yeah. Including, it seems to be getting louder as we add more instruments too. Now we gotta do this one. So what you want to do is, because it's 15 minutes long and you have to play the whole thing, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why when we get there. But have the kids listen carefully, and every time they think they hear a new instrument, just say, hey, raise your hand. Do you think that's a new one? And is it playing the harmony? Oh, and can you hear that? I missed it. That's another instrument. So the composition is actually very simple. There's one melody and there's one counter melody. The counter melody is the harmony, right? They repeat over and over. And the orchestra just keeps bringing in these elements. The rhythm also continues to play on the snare drum throughout the piece. So that's our harmony. And we have another instrument coming in and playing that rhythm this time. So you hear the snare drum and there's another instrument doing it as well. So it's getting louder. Do you hear that it's reaching louder? So the melody starts with the flute, it moves to the clarinet, so it was a clarinet that we heard that second instrument, followed by the bassoon, and then an E-flat clarinet, an oboe, a trumpet, a saxophone, a horn, and a trombone. I'm not sure where we are. We're at almost 6 minutes. Yeah, 9 more minutes. I'd say that's, what do you think that one is? Clarinet, is it E-flat clarinet?
Yeah.
Or oboe? I think it's one of those.
They're all woodwind except the drum beat.
So if you can play the DVD, they'll actually show each instrument in the progression, which is why I said if you have access to the YouTube, you can talk about it and show it. It's a visual thing as it goes. If I can actually find the time management for you, so you know, I'll tell you when each instrument comes in. I think I saw one.
Oh, and another one.
Oh, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's our E-flat clarinet. But every time they hear a new instrument, you can say, hey, raise your hand when you hear the new instrument. So tell them, hey, you know, tap your foot to the beat. Give the kids something to do, including if they're young. They really need something to do during the whole piece or they won't concentrate. And you can say, these are the instruments we're looking for, so tell me when you think you've heard it.
Yeah.
Eventually the whole orchestra is going to come in. But you can hear, we've heard this melody before, right?
Yeah.
It's the same melody over and over again. Matter of fact, you can have them hum along if you want. previous was the melody, or we'd say our A melody. This is our B melody. So this is our harmony. About 9 minutes played. Is it getting louder? Do you think it's still getting louder? It is.
Yes, it is.
It is. As they add instruments, it gets louder. See? Much louder, right? Definitely louder. More orchestra here. And it's louder. I just heard it go a little bit louder. Horn,
Yeah, huh?
definitely louder.
Louder, yeah.
Five minutes left. You can have the kids move their hands like this. That's keeping the beat. And then you can say you can go higher as it gets louder. That'll help them understand the dynamic as well. Louder. Full orchestra almost. Louder. It's already louder. Can you hear it? Just go a little bit louder there.
Even, yeah.
We'll start. You can start low, and then when it gets really loud, you have the kids up here. No one's come to see us.
What's going on in here? Oh,
Well, that's not good. We'll get a new CD. That might be why we have two CDs. And I just heard it go louder. So you said the song started out here, and now we're kind of up here, right?
I'm curious, is it going to...
We went higher.
Wow, very powerful. Speaker can't stand it.
machine breathing at the end. All right, so half the kids say, okay, it was really, really high and loud at the end, right? But we kind of started really, really soft.
Soft.
And we went all the way there. Librarians not here. Sorry, guys. So, Bolero is said to contain the longest sustained single crescendo in all orchestra pieces. So ask the kids, do you remember what a crescendo is? Remember
From
crescendo is
soft
when
to loud.
you start really soft and then eventually and slowly get louder. We use that example of your mom telling you to clean your room. The first time she tells you, she's like, please go clean your room. A week goes by and you don't clean your room. And your mom goes, you know, I really would like you to clean your room. Another week goes by and you still haven't cleaned your room. Clean your room! That would be a crescendo. So that is what our composer just did. Library's closed. But he took his whole 15 minutes, his whole composition to reach that crescendo. All right, so now notice how Ravel builds his composition. He added instruments a few at a time so their tones balanced and created interesting harmony. So all these elements that we had here were in use, obviously, right? We had the melody, the flute started playing the melody, and our snare drum at the very, very beginning introduced us to the rhythm. Then I think our clarinet came in and brought in a harmony. And then we noticed the dynamics. Remember how loud or how soft the piece is played? It slowly built louder and louder. So that's the dynamics. Okay. So most composers that we have studied, they use dynamics too, but they kind of weave it into the piece, so it's a little bit here and a little bit there, but this whole piece was that crescendo, and that's what he focused on, was that crescendo. That's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, sorry, this is what happens when I don't prep it ahead of time. So it took a great deal of teamwork, though, to do this, didn't it? And if you're actually able to show the video, they will actually see that teamwork, because they will see how the people in the orchestra slowly come into the piece and build. Now, you can also hear that teamwork, obviously, because we started out with two teammates, right? The flute and the snare drum. And we slowly built our team, and our team got bigger and bigger and bigger until we were able to build that crescendo at the end. But everyone was working together to create that final dynamic at the end and that final punch to the song. So the way the instruments are introduced and in sequence, and this requires this delicate balance, all right? So he was balancing these instruments and the dynamics through the whole piece to keep the sound level and growing consistently. So each individual who was playing on the piece contributed, and that contribution is what made the piece balanced. However, combining the instruments together produces a superior result. I don't know why it says that. We're going to skip that one, take that one out. Okay, so real quick, we do have a biography. Again, if you have little kids, skip the biography. First grade, second grade, even third grade, they don't necessarily need the biography. Upper grades, you can go ahead and do it, including if you have time. We're going to do part of it because we still have to do the art project to film. So I'll do the first part. So Maurice Ravel was born in France. He lived close to the Spanish border, and he had a Swiss father and a Spanish mother, and he was born in 1875. His mother was an amateur musician, and his father was an inventor of engines and machines. That might be why I thought it sounded like a machine breathing at the end there. The family moved to Paris when Maurice was only a few months old, but his mother's Spanish heritage and father's mechanical brain greatly influenced Ravel, and nowhere more than in this bolero composition. You can hear the Spanish elements in that song. And he created that in 1928. So that part of the biography, if you just want a little bit, that's perfect because it refers back to the song. The rest of it is Ravel had piano lessons from the age of 6 and progressed quickly, performing in public at the age of 14, and eventually studied at the Paris Conservatory. Ravel was a perfectionist. Ravel wrote a wide variety of compositions, carefully polishing each piece. He averaged 1 composition per year. Ravel was influenced by the music around him in the world, especially jazz and traditional folk songs from across Europe, especially Spain. He composed a left-handed concerto for a friend who lost his right hand. So he was very talented. He was very concerned about his appearance and never left home unless he was perfectly groomed. He had to match his suspenders. So suspenders is what men used to use to hold the pants up, with his shirt very carefully. Rumor has it that he was frequently late for appearances because of the time it took him to choose his clothing. Does anyone remember another composer who we presented this year who was a perfectionist and loved to dress well? It would be Frédéric Chopin. After World War II and the death of Debussy, so Debussy is a composer that we do study in fame. I don't remember when we studied him last, so the kids may not remember him depending on how old they are. He found himself at the top of the French music scene. His experiences during the war had added a touch of melancholy to his music, which, coupled with the unique rhythmic energy that he has in his music and the luscious orchestrations, appealed to many people. So that melancholy flavor kind of appealed to everyone. And I kind of hear that in Bolero a little bit, but that was that was after World War I. I can hear that melancholiness there. So Ravel died in 1937 after 5 years of declining health, brought on by a major blow to his head sustained during a car accident in New York. He is now considered to be one of France's greatest ever composers, and until recently was the highest earning French musician of all time. He even has out-earned Elvis Presley, apparently. And that is it for our biography on Ravel. So that was actually a fun song. For parents, because kids won't know, I've actually heard that music during fight scenes for Star Trek. So if you want, Ravel, so Bolero is actually used a lot in movies and TV, but nothing that the kids would necessarily recognize. And you guys probably wouldn't even recognize Star Trek because it's the old TV show, not the newer stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to get set for our art lesson. Okay, so here is a sample of what we are going to be doing. So first you will give every child a plate. So I think in the lesson it says a piece of tin foil, and that's because that year we had sheets of tin foil. But I think the plates will work a little bit better. Let the kids know that a little paint goes a long way so they don't oversaturate, because they're going to have to let this dry. You're going to have to leave it with them to let it dry. So it's just a coffee filter. And then we have these watercolor paints, which you're going to have to look on the side for what color it is, because this is yellow. You wouldn't think that was yellow, would you? But it says yellow right there. Okay, and then just put a little bit, not a lot. You might want a little bit more than that, because this is just for me. But a little bit in each cup. You can have the kids work in at least 2 a group, maybe 3, depending on how they are. And so you have your coffee filter, and you're going to have to give the kid him the straws. And you're going to need the straws. I will see. One year we did this, I was able to find little eyedroppy thingies to pick up the paint with, and if I can find those, I'll get those, but if I can't, the straws work fine. So, and the kids know how to do this. Parents may not. So I don't want it upside down. All right, so what they do is they put the straw in like this, put their finger on top, and then they just let it go. I might need more. You might need more paint. I think that's orange. I don't think that's yellow. So you see how a little bit goes a long way. We're kind of doing this color blocking thing that our artist doing. Now you may want to just give a straw for each color, or maybe 2 straws for each color, so they don't mix colors. It's just me. No one came to join me. So for the more, look, that's kind of purple. The more you have in there, the more it'll pick up on that. But I'll see if they have the eyedroppers. The last time I was there, they didn't. Go that way. So they'll just do this until they fill their whole coffee. Just make sure they don't pour it on. Because I do remember last year I was helping, or not last, the last time we did this, I was helping out with a, yeah, we have white still here. I was helping out with a first grade class, and there was a pool of color on their tinfoil, and tinfoil that year, so you don't want them to use that. And you can also spread it out and make you want to do some art, Rhiannon? We're doing same lessons. It'll be fitting. You'll be on my last presentation. You're on my first presentation as a little baby. Now we'll have you.
Yeah, look at your face.
Hi. Yeah, I was looking at my older fame lessons, and there's my daughter running around the room, and you just see the top of her head.
Now,
Now look at her.
I'm 5'8". Oh, very good. How short was I then? 4'8".
You were like, but you made a lot of noise. I was constantly telling you to be quiet. Hush, Rhiannon, so I can give the fame lesson. Here, you want to do white shirt. So just have the kids do, you might have to list it. So you need to put enough color in there so the kids don't have to lift the cup. Since it was just me, I didn't do that. So this is kind of like Helen Frank Collar and her color blocking techniques. And if they want to leave white, they can, because you're kind of balancing it at this time, and it's kind of balancing. So, and then the kids will, hopefully, if they have not saturated their plate, they will keep that plate and just put it to the side to dry. And then they take it home. It's just this. We don't do anything else with it. So you can put it in their window, and actually, because it's kind of see-through, it'll be a nice, almost like stained glass window type thing. Are you oversaturating? So if they do oversaturate, you can switch out a plate. Just pick it up, give them a brand new plate before you leave, and let it dry on that plate. But don't go. Don't do what I'm gonna do. No, okay. Watch the language. This is a family show.
There you go.
Miley Cyrus is not here.
It's a likely story. So they can write down their name before we start.
Yeah, and I might actually have to buy more plates, because this is just what we had left over in PTA stock. So we'll probably have to buy more plates.
See, I didn't split that then.
I'm glad.
more, you guys put more liquid in your cups and you do them faster. But yeah, so if they have the little eyedropper type thingies, they're just they're like a straw. They just have a bulb on the top, and you squish the bulb and let it go.
They're in the science lab.
Oh, you got some in the science lab? I should go steal some. No, okay, you want to. But for now, we'll use these straws. Trust me, these kids know how to do that.
Woohoo! Done!
Beautiful. Beautiful. Here, you want to hand me a white plate so they can see? And actually, that's not that bad. I would go ahead and leave that with the child that way. But there it is on a white plate.
Beautiful, isn't it?
All right, so that is the art activity for this lesson. And thank you so much for letting me do fame so long.
And I will never see you again, camera. Never. So enjoy it.
Okay, sure.
Bye.
Thank you so much.